Hey everybody, welcome back to Shock and Schlock. I'm your host Herschel Gillis, and today is day 17 of my 31 days of horror reviews. Today, once again, this is becoming a trend. No DVD or anything, because I watched another movie on, guess what, Tubi TV, my go-to streaming service now as of late. And I watched Alejandro Jodorowsky's film Santa Sangre. I know I probably once again butchered pronunciation, but I tried my best. So Santa Sangre is a 1989 film, as I said, directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, that follows a man through his life from childhood to adulthood, dealing with his religious zealot cult leader mother and his abusive father in the beginning. Um, it's hard to talk about this film without spoiling things. I'm away from that it follows his childhood, but um, follows his childhood and adulthood sometimes simultaneously. So I feel like the best description of the plot line of this film would just be this circus artist escapes from a mental health facility um, to help his armless mother, who he is the literal arms for. Like, he goes behind her with his arms and does all the movements that she'd be doing. Sometimes even things like to himself. Um, yeah, it's as weird as it sounds, and I absolutely loved this movie. Um, where to even begin on how good this is? First thing, the acting in this film across the board is top notch. Um, from our leads to even side characters, they're all very believable and interesting, and we care about what happens to them one way or another. Um, it's just really great. Like, you become emotionally invested in this film because of the characters and the cinematography. The cinematography in this film is fantastic. You're going to be hearing me say fantastic, great, amazing, stuff like that for the rest of the video because this film is fantastic. Um, there's this bright pops of color. It feels like this very dark storybook come to life. It's very surreal. Um, we get the imagery presented in this film is very hard to describe as anything but like a sort of Alice in Wonderland storybook, but corrupted. Um, there's circus freaks and the armless mother with the lead behind her with his arms and everything is always consistently interesting to watch. Um, the costume design in this film is great as well. Um, really, it's just stunning to look at across the board. Every image in this film feels like a photograph, like a really fantastic photograph that you just stare at for a long time, and it just continues on throughout the entire film. There are a couple of like dreamlike sequences in this film that are fantastic as well. They're really interesting to look at. There's some, surrealist stuff in here which is common with Jodorowsky, but I feel like he was a bit more restrained in this versus something like The Holy Mountain. Like, you're not going to get that crazy bizarre imagery of the Holy Mountain or something in the like, but you do get something that's twisted, um, certainly from most of other cinema. Um, there's just weirdly like happy parts punctuated by shocking violence. This film is rated NC-17, which is pretty uncommon, at least in the U.S. For me, it's rated NC-17. I don't know what it is overseas. I personally don't think NC-17 should even be a rating because why wouldn't things just be rated R? It's like 17 versus, yeah. Anyway, the violence in this also, I just want to mention, is not worthy of an NC-17, even if you think there should be one, because there are R-rated movies that are significantly more violent than this. Um, but the pops of violence when they do occur um, are certainly noteworthy and memorable, and they have an impact because they always happen to people that you care about, or it's done by somebody that you care about. This isn't like some mindless slasher flick or anything, and I saw this compared to Psycho a couple of times. I don't really agree with that away from the son doing things for his mother. That's a very basic take. This film is pretty much wholly on its own as far as everything. The music in this is great as well. Just across the board, I loved every aspect of this film. One of the best films I've ever seen. I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that often. So when I say that, this is a fantastic film. I have no complaints about it. It's paced extremely well. It's over 2 hours, but it's never. I mean, 2 hours is not that long, but it's never boring at all. There's always something going on. There's everything that happens feels necessary to the plot, whether it be expanding on a character's personality or driving that story forward. There's always something happening, and it's always important. And the characters in this are great as well. Just the writing and everything is fantastic. Um, Jodorowsky wrote the film as well, and um, he wrote the original story. It looks like Robert Leone adapted for the screen, and Claudio Argento wrote the screenplay. But that sort of combo. The characters in this are written extremely well, and there's attention given not just to the main characters, but to the side characters as well. Nobody really steals the show from each other because everyone is equally interesting. There's circus freaks in this, there's murders, there's the armless cult leader, there's evil men doing terrible things, it's great. Everybody is interesting, and it really does feel like a storybook just brought to life for adults. It's really good and interesting to watch. Um, this is a film that I finished and I immediately wanted to watch again. And that's really the highest praise that I can give a film because, as I've said in the past, the worst thing a film can be is boring, and this is certainly one of the least boring films ever made. It's extremely fan. It's just great, and you should watch it. It's on Tubi TV. You have no reason not to. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're an extreme horror fan, a new horror fan, someone that doesn't like scary movies at all. I don't know, you know. Anybody who's watching this video, just stop watching YouTube and go watch this film immediately. I don't care if it's on your backlog. You need to watch it. It's great. You will not regret it. But yeah, check it out on Tubi TV. That's it for today, though. I'm your host, Herschel Gillis, signing off for today. Another review tomorrow, the 18th day of the 31 Days of Horror. Working on a Halloween mixtape right now as well. So keep an eye out for that stuff. And as always, zero thoughts, zero planning, zero editing, and zero brain cells. I'm your host, Herschel Gillis, signing off for today. Keep your notifications on. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, guys.